Something is happening in America. You can feel it in the wind, see it in the cityscapes that stretch before us, watch it appear in the faces of those who have worked so hard for so long.
If I'm in the middle class in America right now, I see not only plants closing, I see neighborhood stores closing. I see my educational system failing my kids. I see a government that in some cases is financially bankrupt and can't provide the social services that I was used to seeing. I see a future that's scary to me.
Recently I came across a report that talked about the levels of inequality that we have in our society and noted that we haven't seen levels like this since 1929.
We listen, gloss over the headlines, read magazines and watch the evening news. We are told every day about the speed of change in the modern world. We hear about the dangers of globalization.
The whole world is now competing for the same economic benefit.
We struggle to understand it all, but it all becomes only a blur of images and of words.
If I'm a member of the people who are socioeconomically in the lower strata of our society, I'm losing hope. There's increasing violence. Our prison system now is more expensive than our educational system.
Our nation is in the midst of a perfect storm. If we maintain our present policies, it is very likely that we will continue to grow apart. Our nation will experience greater inequity in wages and wealth, and our citizens will experience increasing social and political polarization.
If you were looking back on this period of time, you would ask yourself, why didn't this country of great intent, a democracy, a country with great resources, why didn't they see this?
We hear on the news that the world is becoming smaller, faster, more interconnected. We are in the midst of a digital revolution. The knowledge economy has replaced the information age, which it seems only yesterday had replaced the industrial age.
One of the forces in our storm is the changes that we've seen in the economy. Those changes are being brought about by technological innovation, by globalization. Those changes are restructuring not just the economy, but the workforce.
Geographic boundaries of longitude and latitude are yielding to relative location that exists in cyberspace. Populations intersect regardless of national boundaries.
A graduate of a United States high school, when they get a job, they are not competing just with other workers in the region. They are in fact competing with workers in India, in China, in Japan, South America, Europe.
We hear about jobs going to other countries, factories closing down. It's less expensive to make a DVD player in China and ship it to the United States than it is to build that technology here.
The environment that we operate in is no longer localized, it's global. And it's highly technology-based or digital. So many of the skills that we used to teach people, the basic skills, are no longer those that are relevant to the new society. So we have to acknowledge that change, and we have to acknowledge that the educational system of the past is failing miserably. There's 100 million people who don't have the literacy and numeracy skills to exist in our current society, and that's going to grow by 30 million people in the next 10 years.
I think as a society and as a country, we're at a crossroads. We leave too many kids behind in schools. Today, approximately 30% of the students who start 9th grade fail to graduate on time, and among those who do make it to the 12th grade, more than 50%, according to NAEP data, lack the necessary reading and math skills that they're going to need to fully participate in our emerging economy. We are losing, from a human capital point of view, a significant percentage of our potential.
And that's part of the reason you see the U.S. economy is staggering now.
we need to have a human capital agenda. If we don't get that part right, not much else matters.
As the economic structure of the nation shifts and the education system struggles to adapt, the demographic profile of the population is changing.
We're now seeing levels of immigration that we haven't seen in almost a century.
And that immigration is not coming from the European continent where it used to. It's now coming from South and Central America.
The Census Bureau predicts that over the next 10 years, foreign immigration is likely to account for more than half of our population growth.
These demographic shifts, which include increased immigration, variable birth rates among various sectors of the population, and the aging of the American population, are compounding the lowering skills level of the overall population. At the very time when new and more sophisticated skills are needed in the economy, and when the education system is struggling to adapt to this new environment, the population as a whole increasingly lacks the skills necessary to compete in the global economy.
So while the educational system is struggling to become more efficient, more effective, it's going to have to do so with a different mix of people, with a different mix of backgrounds, different mix of languages, a different mix of skill sets that these kids come to schools with.
The profound restructuring of the American economic environment, when coupled with the increasingly inadequate skills base of the nation's workforce and the changing demographic profile of the nation, represents a confluence of trends that are creating a perfect storm for America.
If the current forces stay in play, as we predict they will, in all likelihood, America will grow farther apart, become more divided socially, economically, politically.
Wages for low-skilled workers will continue to decline, while those with high skills will be in demand and see their incomes rise dramatically. The middle class in America will steadily continue to shrink, and the population will increasingly grow apart into the haves and have-nots.
I think you're going to have such an extensive underclass that we are going to have increasing crime rates, increasing mental illness, increasing polarity.
The most dire aspect of this perfect storm is its invisibility. It is approaching America incrementally, not in the space of days, but over the course of years. ETS, the world's largest educational research organization, has seen this storm develop over the course of its research.
We've got to take this information and not only bring it to the attention of public policymakers, we've got to find new forums to bring together people to talk about solutions.
Absent a radical shift in this nation's attitude towards the education and development of its human capital, the American dream will fall by the wayside of history. We need a clear picture of the challenge we face. We must not allow our country's population to continue to drift apart. As a nation, we must invest in efforts to help us grow together.